5% overnight, but that's it.
Good morning, Jaime. Jaime, good morning.
I don't want to show the camera, then you're gonna come out from under there. You're like, yeah, we'll try to get a raise. Mr. Mia, how you doing?
I'm good. Jaime, how are you?
Doing great, sir. Good to see you.
Likewise. I
Will this
just
be
wanna-
your official last meeting?
Yes, sir.
Or
I
did you
got two
decide to,
more
or did you
options.
decide to stay at the city?
No, I got 2 more days to go. Friday is my last day.
Okay, great, great. Well,
But I just
I'm glad you were able to join us, sir.
Yes, sir. I just wanna, once the meeting starts, just say, everybody, thank you. And Mr. Chairman, so
Great, thank you, Mia.
we'll wait for everybody to join.
Yes, sir, of course. Mr. Lucio, good morning. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, sir. Jaime, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Mr. Trevino, good morning. You doing okay? Can you hear us fine?
Good morning, Jaime. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Everything as well.
Yes, sir. And then I know there's someone on with their iPhone. Can you let me know who that is so we can keep roll call?
This is Willie Cupid with Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Mr. Cupid, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing well, sir. Good to hear from you.
All right.
Miss Mays, can you hear me okay? Good morning.
Good morning, I can, thank you.
Perfect. Elijah, good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning.
Mr. Alan Moore, good morning, sir. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, sir, just fine.
Perfect. Bird, buenos dias. How are you, ma'am? Can you hear me okay?
Good morning. How are you?
Doing great, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning, Megan. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Ensuring that.
Mr. Ramirez, good morning. Can you hear us okay? Good morning, Chairman.
Good morning, Jaime. This is Joe. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, Joe. Good morning, sir. Good to see you.
Good morning, amigo. Igualmente. Gracias.
Chairman, can you hear us okay?
Jaime,
Yes, sir.
you can hear me.
I can now, sir.
Thank you.
Raul, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, Raul.
Good morning. Joe, how are you doing?
Muy bien, amigo. ¿Y usted? How are you?
Doing good, sir. Doing good.
I hear you all had an interesting board meeting, commissioners meeting.
Every meeting is interesting for us.
No doubt. No doubt.
Every meeting. We were graced with the presence of our sheriff, so it was good yesterday.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting.
Morning, Commissioner. Did you survive the fajita cook-off?
Yes, sir. You know, it was really nice. Thank you for the invite, Joey. You know, I mean, it was a nice turnout considering the weather you had and everything else. It seems like nothing deters people that barbecue.
That's true.
That's South Texas for you, brother.
Yeah. So, Jaime, do you want to do a roll call real quick? See where
Yes,
we're
sir.
at?
Yes, sir. We're ready. Good morning, everyone. Jaime Salazar of the Hidalgo County Drainage District 1, sponsor for Region 15. The time is 9:02 a.m. I'll be taking roll call. Jose Hinojosa,
I am present. Good morning, everybody.
morning, sir. Chairman Garza,
Present.
Augusto Sanchez. Mr. Augusto Sanchez. Mr. Daniel Lucio.
Good morning, present.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hudson Dewey. Hudson Dewey. Commissioner David Fuentes.
Okay,
Commissioner-
I'll be here for a little bit.
Commissioner Fuentes, okay. Mr. Joey Trevino.
Here, present.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rene Estrada. Rene Estrada. Mr. Joe Khalifa. Mr. Joe Khalifa, Miss Laura Haley, Miss Laura Haley, Miss Sonia Lambert.
Present.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Mr. Riazul Mia,
Present, good morning.
Mr. Eduardo Gonzalez, Commissioner Gonzalez. Mr. Raul Peña Jr., Raul Peña Jr.,
Nothing.
Mr. Alan Moore.
Here.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Mr. Willie Cupid, non-voting members, Mr. Cupid.
I am here.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Mr. Brian Herteg,
Just trying to send them.
Mr. Adrian Perez, Miss Shonda Mace,
I'm here. Good morning.
good morning. Miss Megan Ingram,
Present. Thank you, Jaime.
thank you. Mr. David Ramirez. Good
Morning,
morning.
Jaime, present.
Mr. Manny Cruz. Mr. Ramon Macias. Mr. Nick Gallegos. Miss Lupita Trinidad Ramos. And Miss Michelle Garcia. Commissioner, at this point, we only have 7 voting members unless anyone else has logged in.
We need one more?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I already texted a couple, so.
Okay, sir.
Morning, Jaime. It's Christina. Just wanted to see if you could hear me.
Yes, ma'am, I sure can. Can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you.
Can he get on the road?
Yeah, it's on right now. I don't know if you're available, they need.
He's on the road, he should be.
Okay.
Yeah, get on right now. I think we've got one coming on, Jaime.
Perfect. That'd be great, sir.
See here. He liked it. He responded and says. Went like this, so. Maybe 2. One of them says he could get on in 5 minutes, okay? So if we could be patient just a bit, we would appreciate it.
Yes, sir, Chairman.
We didn't have a quorum, so is there any discussion anyone wishes to bring up at this point that in relation to our planning group that you need a question answered or a question of either the folks that are resources or some of the folks that are consultants can answer for us?
Chairman, if I may.
Yes,
This is
sir.
Riazul. Mr. Chairman, I submitted after 27 years. Friday will be my last day with the city of Laredo, so I'm retiring. And I did submitted a letter of resignation to you. I just want to thank you, sir, for your leadership. I worked with you for a long time. And
I think it's, I get some emails from
Augusto, we can hear Joe. Okay, go ahead, Rio.
And I wanna thank the committee. I think this committee, the flooding, unfortunately, Texas is the biggest natural disaster. Thank God we don't have earthquake, but the flooding we do have. So what this committee does, it is very important for the life, the quality of life, and also saving for the life and property. And so my hats off to you guys and everybody, and I pray that once we finish the product, hopefully the state legislature will listen and fund some of these projects. So as I said, this will be my last meeting, but I thank you, everybody. I will still have my cell phone number. So if you need any question, feel free to call me.
Thank you so much for all your help. I know when we've been up to Laredo, you have been very good to us in making sure that you get us in front of the right people. So on behalf of the Flood Planning Infrastructure Group, I'll very much appreciate, all the efforts that you put into helping us move forward. So are you going to stay in the area?
No, sir. If I don't work here, I'm probably going to move close to Houston or Austin area.
Okay.
I'm getting old, so I need to go where there is more shade and better medical facilities.
Okay.
Congratulations, Mia.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Mia. With that said, Chairman, I believe we do have Miss Haley. Good morning, ma'am. And we do have a
Morning.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jaime.
And I believe
we'll go ahead and
done. I'm sorry,
we'll
sir.
call the meeting to order, and with Miss Haley and Augusto on, I think that we've got the quorum. So we will go ahead and head to item number 3, discussion of written public comments, if any were received. Jaime?
No, sir, not as of now. None received.
Okay, thank you. Item number 4 is discussion and action as appropriate. Consider approval of minutes from the previous meeting of December the 7th. And everybody got a copy of the minutes. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions that need to be made?
Commissioner, I move that they get approved as sent out.
Okay, is there a second?
Second. Solid.
Second by Mr. Moore. Yes, sir. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Discussion and action as appropriate, voting and non-voting members. Jaime, what is this one about?
Chairman, just wanted to let, of course, you and the committee know with Mr. Riazul Mia turning his resignation, we will have to go out and solicit for another voting member. Just wanted to let the committee know. Also, I'm not sure, I haven't received anything from Commissioner Eduardo Gonzalez from Willacy County. I don't know if you've received anything on your end, Chairman, but I don't know if we have to go out for those two voting.
Yes, we do need to, okay?
Okay.
He hasn't officially sent me anything in writing. I was waiting for that. But
Okay.
yeah, we have to go out and see about recruiting someone, okay?
Okay, sir. And then on the non-voting membership, just want to let you and the committee know, Mr. Brian Hertek with the TDEM is no longer there. I'll reach out to the Texas Division of Emergency Management to see if they'll have a replacement. The same thing with Miss Lupita Trinidad Ramos from the South Texas Development Council, and the same with Ms. Nelda Barrera from the Texas Department of Agriculture. But we did receive replacements. Ms. Kara Smith and Jamie McCool will be the new non-voting members on behalf of the Texas Department of Agriculture. I just wanted to let you know of those changes, sir.
Yeah, those notices did come in. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, they sure did.
Okay. So everyone be on the lookout for the publications going out. And if you have someone that you would like to encourage or try to recruit, please let us know. We'd be more than happy to reach out to folks to make sure that we can continue moving on and having our quorums and doing the business that we need to do.
Chairman,
Sir?
I'm kind of following Mr. Mia's track. At the end of June, I will be retiring from full-time at Drainage 5, but I plan to stay it appears on a consulting basis with 5. I wasn't appointed as the drainage district or flood control entity appointment, so I have not intended to resign. If it's necessary, then by all means I will. But if we just verify that whether I can, with the position that I hold, if I can stay on, if I'm not the full-time manager here.
You know, we will look into it, Alan. I would certainly hope that, you know, you can stay on with us because you provide a wealth of knowledge and not only knowledge, but historical knowledge in many areas for us. So we will look into it and make sure and see what we can do about trying to keep you on and keep you on as an active member with us. And I certainly appreciate also the time you put in with us and the help you've given this organization. So your expertise is invaluable to us. Okay.
Thank you. And my kids live across the street and my grandkids live across the street from me. So I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. Well, that's good. You know,
We'll look into that, Chairman.
okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jaime. And please call me if there's any issues. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other comments on that item?
Commissioner, I think I'll be following Alan's footsteps probably at the end of the year. I'll be retiring at that time as well. Not sure
That's a
if I'll be
long
staying.
ways away. That's a
Okay,
long
I just
ways
want,
away.
it's not long enough.
I should
Actually, it's too long, but anyway.
I should have never put this agenda item on.
Anyway, I just want to put that out there. It's coming in the near future.
Okay. Well, thanks for the warning. Okay. We've got to figure out a way to keep you guys on because you've been great for us. You know, so any other folks out there? Mia, you started this.
Commissioner, I'll just briefly say that TWDB doesn't have any restrictions on changes in voting membership in this context. So this is a decision for you and the group. I'll just throw that in there now.
Well, that kind of solves the problem. Okay.
So let me interject. This is Joe. So the persons that replace the individuals that may be leaving, they can be retired, or they have to be affiliated with a certain state agency or what have you? Can anybody answer that?
No, sir, they don't. So it's up to the chair and the group to decide if that particular individual still can represent the particular interest category.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. And we'll look into it and make sure that we get in touch with the Water Development Board, and Jaime and I can do that. And then we'll report to the full board. That way, that gives us a little more latitude of what we can do. And, you know, I mean, I certainly personally appreciate, you know, what Alan and Sonia and Ria bring to the table for us, because it's, you know, they have an expertise set that I certainly don't even come close to even understanding. So, you know, we'll report back to the full board and then move on from there, Mr. Hinojosa. Okay, we'll go on to item number 6,
Chairman,
an update from the Texas Water Development Board.
Chairman, just for the record, Mr. Estrada has joined us. Good morning, Mr. Estrada.
Good morning, everyone. Apologies for being a little late. I was having
Not
a
a
little
problem.
issues. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My only update today is to update you all that our updates to our administrative rules have been published in the Texas Register. So they're in the April 21st edition. And so public comment has opened and will end May 22nd. The Water Development Board did send out an e-blast, so it wouldn't have come from me, it just would have come from our communications department. It has the email address, which you can submit public comments. It's rulescomments@twdb.texas.gov. And again, May 22nd is that date you want to keep in mind to send in any feedback. If you would like me to forward you that email, just at the top of your inbox and comes from a familiar name, I'm happy to do that.
That would be good.
Okay.
Okay, Megan, thank you. The more information that we get in front of us, the less of an excuse we have to not respond. Okay.
Sure. I'll send that out.
Thank you. Okay. Is that all, Megan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Item number 7 is approval and certification of administrative expenses incurred by the planning group sponsor for the development of the regional flood plan. Mr. Salazar,
No expenses to certify at this time, Chairman.
thank you, sir. We'll skip item 7 and go to 8. Discussion and update by technical consultants. A, approval of new FMXs. And I'm just gonna read them all out loud and then we can allow Christina to continue with the discussion. B is approval of additional FMEs to study further, task 12. C is review of received comments and responses. D is review of ranking criteria for the FMXs. And E is review of possible comments for ranking criteria. Christina?
Hello, Chairman. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Do y'all see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So good morning, Chairman, Regional Flood Planning Group. Hi, Emma and Megan. It's nice to see everyone. It's been a while. Don't worry, we've been busy working on the amended plan. So as Chairman said, we have a full agenda today, so I'm going to just jump in it. Let me move forward. Chairman read all the agenda items, so I'm just going to go into it. So this slide says task 12, but a lot of it has to do with work that we did in task 11. This was the enhanced outreach that we did. And we did receive a lot of information after the draft was posted. And so we really couldn't include that in the final plan. And so we're presenting it here today. So big thank yous to the whole team. We did receive a lot of information. So this screen just shows you task 4. This was kind of the process, just as a refresher of what we went through to identify FMXs and then, screen them to get them to FMEs, FMPs, FMSs. Again, this is just a refresher. We received a lot of information from the following entities. And so there's a lot of new FMEs, FMPs or FMEs really at this point, that we're recommending for approval. I'm still getting information. I do have a couple of entities that have they have FIFs going on. And so they're going to try to get me a list of possible FMPs. So I've been working with a couple of groups, and there also were others that are working on master drainage plans that they self-funded. So in our next meeting, I'd like to have a lot of FMPs to add, but today we'll be adding or asking for approval for a lot of FMEs. And the way the agenda was posted, it really is just a table, but to make it a little bit more meaningful, I'm going to go through the different I separated the proposed FMEs by entity. So for the city of Edinburgh, we received their master drainage plan, and it had several of FMEs identified. This weird FME title is they're associated with their different ditch systems. And so I'll work on improving the name of it, but we're asking for approval, and they had several FMEs that we're asking for to be added. We're asking for, we have a total of 124 new FMEs that would be added.
And you may ask yourself, why isn't he wearing pants?
Why isn't he wearing pants?
Because I had to take them off before I came in, because I was all
Sweaty balls.
Hey, what's going on?
It's because
No.
for
Jaime?
I don't know, sir. Let me find out.
I think you've been hacked.
Oh, no.
Open the door.
Yeah, I
and
don't know.
the door to the chicken coop is completely fucked
Let me,
up.
if I mute
Pushed
myself
aside,
and see if
shit
you're
everywhere, benches
Jaime.
turned over. Everything's been rooted
Jaime.
around. Chuck's like this.
Oh, my God, poor thing.
So of
Haley.
course the
I'm
outside
getting it
chicken
from Laura
coop
Haley's.
wires
Yeah,
all pushed
hey,
up and dented
Laura.
up, and
Can
Long
somebody
story short.
text her?
Missy hadn't left yet, so we rounded up all but one of the chickens.
Can somebody call her? There we go. Okay.
Okay, good.
I apologize, and I will take it up with Miss Haley after this meeting.
Thank
That's
you.
dangerous stuff, man.
Agreed. We also had some from Cameron County. Cameron County Drainage District number 3. Apologies for the typo. Webb County
People
Drainage
talk
District
nowadays.
number 1. City of Mission, we also got their master drainage plan and their model. We're having some errors with their model, but we did get it. More City of Mission FMEs. These are also City of Mission. We received FMEs from Starr County, Del Rio, Cameron County Drainage District number 5. This last week, we also received some from Rio Grande City. So next time we'll add those. City of Harlingen provided a list of their FMEs. This is part of their FIF. They may be able to get us something for one FMP, but they're listing their problem areas. More Cameron County. And like I said, these are erroneously listed. They should be Cameron County. But I'd like approval, if possible. I don't know if you all need more information of all of the addition of these FMPs. We have gone through them.
Christina, I think that at this point, and because of the time sensitivity of what we need to do, as long as you make the corrections appropriately where the titles reflect what they are, I think we need to approve them and move on and make sure that at least we get them on, okay?
I make that motion, this is Joe, to approve the FMEs with the conditions that the amendments are made as needed. Or the descriptions are corrected as needed.
Okay,
Seconded.
okay, it's been moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you so much for that, Christina.
Yes, thank you. And like I said, we did receive a lot of additional models. So we received one from City of Edinburgh, Mission, Cameron County Drainage District number 3, Cameron County Drainage District number 5. And so what I'd like to ask permission is we just approve all of these new FMEs, but if we could have permission to study them further, because we don't have, the no negative impact certifications, and just to double check, there were no BCAs conducted. So we can have permission to apply Task 12 and further these to see if any of those can turn into FMPs. So specifically the new ones.
This is Joe. I move to approve said permission to move forward on that, as Christina described.
Thank you. And I also wanted to ask if because we did get approval to study the FMEs that were above a BCA line of 1 for the previous FMEs that we had models for. These were the ones from Alton, Westaco, FAR, Eagle Pass, and Hidalgo County Precinct 4. We wanted to see if we could go down the list, because there are some other ones that I think if we redo the BCA, we could possibly get a BCA over 1 and move these further to an FMP. And so I also want to get approval of doing everything that we have a model for, just going through and see if we can do the no negative impacts analysis, confirm BCAs or rerun them, and see if any of them can be moved forward as FMPs.
I'll amend my motion to include that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I second the motion.
Yeah, and I think it's important, Christina, that we make an effort with all these entities that have finally responded and wanted to be included, so that if we at least go through the process and let them know why they are on or they could not be on, you know, they'll know for the next time what needs to improve on their requests, you know. So it's a great idea. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. Yeah, and we've been meeting with all of them. So they're not every project that was listed in their master drainage plan that we went through, because they've actually moved forward with some of them. So what you're seeing is really, like, we have been working with entities, but we will continue to do so, especially as we do these further studies.
Well, I applaud your efforts. It's better to have more projects than not enough. And I'm glad that you're engaging with the region and the communities to make the most of these opportunities. So thank you very much for your.
Yes, sir. Again, I applaud the team. You know, S&B, rates, and HAP, they've really been out there. So it's been good. And so moving on to 13 is where we actually amend the plan. And so we've been looking in this outreach. We've also received a lot of new ongoing projects on top of their plans and problem areas. So again, I was just refreshing you the scope of task 12, which is, you know, to actually do H&H analysis, to carry FMEs to FMPs. And we did that, you know, on approval of the list, you know, with BCAs greater than 1, where we had the models. And of that list of, I don't remember if there was 13 or 15, 10 of them, we actually did have BCAs over 1. I believe this one down here is incorrect. So these are the ones we're asking to actually record into as FMPs, to elevate them from an FME to an FMP after going through and doing the no negative analysis. I need to confirm this last one. I know there was 10, but this is showing a 0.5, and I believe it was higher than a 1, because we were grading it. So I can bring this one back. At least these 9, if we can approve them as FMP.
Well, why don't we could do something like, we can approve them, Christina, subject to all being above 1.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because at the next meeting, I plan to have a bigger list of FMPs for you.
But I mean, if it's not above 1, we know that it was not going to be included. Okay.
Okay.
Does anyone have a problem with that?
Christina,
Monday.
can you hear me? Oh, it's listed at an 8.72.
Oh, the Westaco stormwater?
Yes.
Okay, this should have been 8.72.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Flores.
No problem.
Thank you, Joe.
So that solves that problem.
Yes.
Okay. So do I hear a motion to approve this list of FMEs?
FMP.
Yeah.
So move.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second. This is Joe.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Go ahead, Christina.
Okay, moving on to the comments on the final regional flood plan. So we did, at the end of March, receive comments on our final regional flood plan that was submitted in January. And we got a total of 68 comments. They were separated into level 1 and level 2 comments. The level 1 comments needed to be addressed by April 11th, which we did return those by April 11th. So all of that was returned to them via an upload to their OneDrive. We got 61 level 1 comments and 62 level 1 comments, and they were on the actual report that needed to be revised, the tables, but the vast majority were on the geodatabase file. So
how many level 2, Christy? How many level 2 did you say?
There were 7 level 2, and we addressed 4 of them already. So that leaves 3 that needed to be done. And I'm going to go through what those were on the next screens, Chairman, if we're ready to move forward. So the level 1 comments, the very first one was on the appendices A and B, that they were not included in the final regional flood plan. And that's because those Appendix A is all the maps that we did, and Appendix B are all the tables that were required. And so we did upload them, but not as a singular PDF. They were in pieces. So in the tables file, we had uploaded all the tables in PDF and in Excel, and the same thing with the maps. There's a folder for static maps, and we had uploaded those all separately. For size reasons, we hadn't done it, but we did re-upload in the report section a combined Appendix A and then Appendix B. They're very large, so they were in multiple volumes. It's similar to what we have on the regional flood plan website. On Region 15's website, we do have A and B there combined. We uploaded those. We had 11 comments of invalid entries to the geodatabase. And these were minor, like in some cases, there are still zeros instead of nulls, or it just didn't match the exact type. Like we had storm drainage system and it should just be storm drain, or storm drain system, it should just say storm drain. So there's 11 comments where we changed those. 44 comments reconciling table values with the geodatabase entries. And these, because there are so many entries, you know, you would have a different value for like a population or for a project cost. And so we reconciled all of those. We had wrong population values. And so on, I don't know, it was probably like 7 of them. We're double counting populations. So the comment was that the population exceeded the maximum day or the maximum night. And we may have been adding the day and night populations for that FMP. And it wasn't uniform across the tables. It was probably, you know, tied to one entity when we're adding those to the information to the table that happened. So those were corrected. Missing table tying no negative impacts to each. So we were given they're asking for a table, and we kind of had included it in the report, but we're given a specific table that we filled in the same information for the no negative impacts. That was uploaded, and we're missing actual table 19 in the Excel spreadsheet because we have it broken into every entity. So we combined those and added it into the one combined Excel table. And then
Christina,
there were,
do we need to approve these you know, like this list of level 1 comments that you have on there?
I don't know. Megan, I think that's a question for you.
Commissioner, you cut out just a little bit, enough for me to not hear your question. What was it?
Do we need approval from the full committee on these responses to the comments or not?
Responding to the level 1 comments for the
yeah,
or level 2, whichever, you know.
the comments that the revisions we made to the draft, to the final regional flood plan. Does the regional flood planning group need to approve what was submitted?
Oh, you know, I think we did the first time for draft plan. So I don't think you have to, but it couldn't hurt if you feel that you would like to, but it's not required.
Yeah. Well, just to make sure that everybody understands that everything was responded to in the comment area.
Sure. I did just confirm it's not required by us. It's up to you if you would like to.
Yeah, if it's not required, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Sure. Good question.
Yeah, there isn't anything in the letter that said it, so.
Yeah, plain.
Well, I have a question. Is there anything that we didn't respond to? Maybe that would be one task. to follow?
So we have had follow-up comments on some of the geodatabase where it was the comment referred to the wrong table, so we didn't look at the right table, and so we're addressing those right now. But no, we responded to all the level 1s and even some of the level 2s, and we have had follow-up comments that we're addressing right now. So no, we've addressed everything that we had in that letter.
That sounds good to me. Very good.
And so to let you know what the level 2 comments were, the model IDs that we were required to upload to the TDES system didn't match the ID numbers that we included in the Region 15, the Water Development Board upload. And so we corrected those. And the model numbers needed to be the same for both. So there were 2 comments, but pretty much the same thing. So we addressed that. We had a typo in our target year for short-term goal. We had it listed as 2023, and it really should be 2033. And in map 19, we had listed another, instead of writing other, we had listed a different kind of FME type. So we corrected that in our tables and we corrected it on the map. So we did address all of these. They'll be reflected in the amended plan because going through this exercise was good. We've corrected everything going forward. So in the amended plan, we should have it. We should not get these comments again. And then there's some accessibility issues on the figures in the PDF. And so that's one because there's a ton of figures that need to be addressed. And anytime you change the PDF, it just opens up new comments. I don't know, like every little bullet is another accessibility comment that we need to describe. So these accessibility issues, we addressed the really big ones, like all the titles are there, but these on the figures, we will address those in the amended plan. And that's what level 2, they asked that they address them during the amended plan.
Christina, without getting too much into the woods about it, who does these reviews? Is it one team or several teams that review all this stuff or edit, if you will? Who are you engaging with?
So internally, yeah, we have different teams that do it. And my understanding that the review comments that we get from the Water Development Board, they also have different teams looking at the different areas of the report.
Yes, that's right, Christina.
And so there's a lot of little fine points, you know, like we can get everything on the Excel tables done and approved, and then you export that to the GIS information, and there's a lot more graphical information that needs to be tied, and there's specific formats that the information needs to be relayed in, and so they're literally tying, you know, each piece of information to a different feature, and so there's a lot of places where, you know, there could be a little disconnect.
10-4, appreciate that.
And so I just wanted to let y'all know that we did receive comments. I'm not sure if everyone got to see them. These are the comments that we got. We did address them in time, and we have received follow-up ones that we are addressing now. And the remaining 3 comments, we will have those addressed for the amended plan.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the previous section? Okay, go ahead on to the next one, please.
All right. So review of potential ranking criteria. And this I had wanted to get in front of y'all before because the Water Development Board released the ranking information for how they're going to rank all the FMEs, all the FMPs, and all the FMSs for all the projects. They're doing it not at the regional level, but at the flood plan at the state level, where they weave together all the regional flood plans from the 15 different regions. And you can see the different criteria and the weights that they
Christina,
assign.
can you enlarge that a little bit? I don't know if everybody can see it or not, but you know, it's
See if I was able to open it.
there you go. Thank you. It's a little better.
That's a little better. Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
so the information that they looked at, they looked at they didn't look for any of them. Is there emergency need? Because they didn't define what emergency needed, and every region it was up to them to define emergency need. They did not consider that criteria in any of the different rankings. But what they did put a lot of stock into are these items in blue. So everything in this column is what they looked at when they discussed FMEs. When they ranked projects, they actually included a lot more information. And when they did the strategies, they took in kind of in between the two. So all of them considered the estimated number of structures at risk for the 100-year storm, residential structures for the 100-year storm, estimated population at risk in the 100-year storm, critical facilities, again, at risk for the 100-year storm. And they're looking at just raw numbers here. So how many residents, how many structures, how many residential structures, how many critical facilities, the number of low water crossings, hard numbers, estimated number of road closures, estimated length of roads at risk in the 100-year flood risk in miles, estimated farm and ranch land at 100-year flood risk. And again, they were taking all the information that we submitted, every other region, so whatever was submitted in the regional flood plan, there wasn't a real check or anything. It was just they took our information and they ran with it. And then they applied these rankings. So they'll have numbers, and then they're going to apply a ranking to normalize it to 100 and give it a weight. The ones that were considered not for FME, so those were considered for all three, but for the projects and for the strategies, they reviewed or ranked or considered everything in orange. And so again, you have number of structures with the reduced 100-year floodplain, number of structures removed from the 100-year floodplain, percent of structures removed from the 100-year floodplain calculated by the Water Development Board based on reported data, residential structures removed from the 100-year, estimated population removed from the 100-year floodplain, critical facilities removed from the 100-year floodplain, number of low water crossings completely removed, estimated reduction in road closure occurrences, estimated length of roads removed from the 100-year floodplain, and estimated farm and ranch land removed from the 100-year floodplain. So again, those were considered for the FMPs and for the FMSs. And then you can see how much weight they're given. In lots of cases, in all cases, it's a low. The highest that you're going to get is 10%, and that is percent of structures removed from the 100-year floodplain. And that was really just to normalize it across the different groups to get you to 100. And then FMS, they also included weights, but at a more reduced amount for cost per structure removed from the 100-year floodplain, percent nature-based solution by cost, benefit cost ratio, and whether there was a water supply benefit. So yes, you get 5% points or 10%, no, 0, I guess. And then for the projects, because we had to give, we go through and do these assessments for the projects where we looked at the severity of the pre-project average depth of flooding, the community need, the flood risk reduction, flood damage, critical facilities, life and safety, water supply, social vulnerability, nature-based solutions. All of these, you give it a score, which are tallied together, and we're using these when we, for each FMP that is recommended, we went through this and scored them. So they were also
Christina,
Monday.
on 32, which is a nature-based solution, when you say see above, where do I find it on above?
32, the nature-based, it's 21 by cost. I believe that's what it.
Okay, so that's where it's reflected at. Thank you.
And so, along with this, they published this with some guidance, and they did also provide an Excel table for all the FMEs, FMPs ranked according to this criteria. And it allowed, anybody to be able to, play with the numbers or at least understand how these were applying to the rankings. And so looking at that, let me go to what we could see. So from the FME ranking criteria, which we went through, when you looked for region 15, these are our highest 3 ranked FMEs. So out of 2,336 total FMEs on the state flood plan, as of January, we were ranked. The Webb County flood risk maps were ranked number 75. Starr County Drainage District flood risk maps were ranked 151, and Morenos, Graceno, and Kelsey Creek Culvert Bridge improvements ranked 152. If you saw them, you'd see a lot of like Nueces County projects up at the top. And I'll go over like what the comments. So the next bullet on our agenda was to really, I had wanted to go through this, and I was hoping we could play with it a little bit and we could formulate our comments, but comments initially were due April 1st. And then it was extended because there's a lot of requests for it. It was extended to April 14. So the date has already passed. Half associates did put in some comments, and I'll go through those with you after these next 2 slides. But
Christina,
Monday.
I did, sorry to interrupt you. I did check with my state flood planning counterpart, and I let her know that y'all are discussing today, and she's okay with both accepting your comments when you're ready and or opening up the form. So maybe you and I can discuss what that looks like, but you can still submit your comments. Clearly sooner is better than later. We can discuss exactly what that looks like, but we're good to continue.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So if y'all want to go through comments, we can. When we looked at the FMSs, again, there was a total of 375 in the regional flood, in the state flood plan. The highest ranked for our region, for region 15, we tied as ranked 13, and they were the Hidalgo County warning system for new jurisdictions, Hidalgo County updated building codes and regulatory floodplain standards, and Hidalgo County updated website and maps with storm ready links and educational mailouts. Those are the highest ranks. It's kind of mixed, but this is where we ranked on our FMSs. And FMPs, I'll remind you, we only had 2 in our final regional flood plan, and they ranked 55 and 76 out of 205. So when we went through the different, and I don't know if you want me to pull up the regional flood plan, but we got a lot of the more coastal and urbanized areas ranked higher. And so on the survey form, they really just asked for general feedback and then feedback on each of the FMEs, FMPs, and FMSs. So the general feedback that have supplied, and we can supply information if y'all feel, now that Megan let us know, is the reason that the FMXs are ranked at all in the state flood plan is because the legislation requires it. They do have caveats that say that the ranking is not used for funding. So our recommendation was recommend that legislation be changed to remove the ranking requirement from the regional and state flood and planning effort. We noted that rural FMXs ranked lowest when you looked at the overall data, that the way that the ranking criteria ranked the projects, the greatest needs were identified along the coast.
So you submitted all this already, right?
Yeah, my firm,
Okay,
which is involved in several, these are the comments that we submitted.
that you submitted. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then there is confusion. So just having a ranked plan in there may be interpreted, even though there are, disclaimers on the survey, and but there could be some interpretation that their ranking is for funding as well. And RPGs, because we each had some interpretation on what some of the criteria could have meant, that could skew some of the ranks. I don't know how you would check, just because everybody's responsible for the actual data, that there could be some differences in methodologies, which kind of skews it, like BCA. I know that the Water Development Board gave us a tool, but like we used BCAs, if they were already conducted before, we're respecting those, but maybe another group redid all of their BCAs, or did them a different way. Because there's some interpretations like that could skew the ranks. And then, as it is a requirement, the following recommendations are made. Because they're using raw numbers, like hard, like this is the number of population affected. Obviously, the urbanized areas where you have denser populations are going to rank higher. And so, we're saying consider population as a percentage versus, a raw number. The same thing with the affected areas benefiting, if you did that as a percentage of the entire area rather than the raw size, that would make it a little bit more fair for the rural areas versus urbanized. Consider regional rankings of FMXs only, or consider multiple lists such as urban, rural, or coastal. And again, these could be requirements for fundings, fundings separate. Consider rankings by type, such as low rate, rank all the low water crossings or all the regional detention projects or all the, mapping projects versus actual pre-engineering projects. But consider maybe ranking those against each other instead of against, the broader scope. So those are, pretty much inputted the way you're reading them. And so when we got into the FMEs, ranking criteria, weight.
Let me ask a question. Maybe Megan can answer this, Christina. Are these comments and feedback that we're providing to be utilized for the next revision of the plan, or are they going to be utilized for this particular plan itself?
It will be for this upcoming state flood plan, sir.
Thank you. Go ahead, Christina.
Okay, so those are general. Is the group gonna want to submit some, or do you want to discuss this after I go through what half is submitted?
Go ahead and see what you've submitted, and then we'll make a decision then, okay?
Okay, will do. So on the comment addressing FMEs directly, you've heard these comments. Rural areas do not have the resources to calculate the ranking criteria metrics. Thus, assumptions may have been made by RPGs based on generalized information. Half recommends the following. Consider population affected as a percentage rather than raw number of data. Avoid double counting throughout the scoring processes. So you had number of structures as one criteria, one metric, and then which includes commercial and residential. And then you have residential alone. And then we commented on the weights that were given to the different areas just to prioritize structures, critical facilities. So these were the comments that we did. Like the comment about there were some generalized information. So because it was a lot of these FMEs, we are making assumption as far as like what the boundary really is. And so if we just drew a bigger area, that it's addressing because they're not actually studied at this point, we could increase the number of structures affected. We obviously try to reflect with the best information available, but I don't know what the other regions did. Did they look at the watershed, or did they look at just the county boundaries? Because you're going with raw numbers as far as area and not percentages, it could skew data. That's why we're saying if you use a percentage, that might help even the plane. So I'm not, any questions on the or comments on FMEs? Okay, so for the sake of time, I want to go on to our comments on FMPs, unless.
Well, Christina, just trying to let all this sink in, but at the end of the day, it seems like rural communities are having to compete with urban communities for the same funding. And if so, it seems like the rural communities are definitely at a disadvantage. Or am I interpreting this wrong?
Well, they do caveat it that it's not tied to funding, but it's ranking based on what was the wording? They're ranking them to see which ones have the most impact on flood risk mitigation, and not on funding. So the ranking is to address reduction or flood mitigation efforts. Let me see. They wrote, the intent of the Water Development Board ranking methods for the state flood plan is to provide a consistent approach to be used across all Texas regions to systematically address, in general, the flood hazard with most population properties and critical facilities at risk in the state during the 1% annual chance flood. The proposed process aims to result in a ranking with a focus on A, severity of flood risk, and B, reduction of flood risk and impact to life and property as required by the 86th Texas Legislature Senate Bill 8. So that's their priority. It's not for funding. It's just listing the severity, projects that address reduction of flood risk and impacts to life and property with a focus on the severity of the flood risk and reducing that. And so when you look at it as far as raw numbers, that's how they're choosing to define it. And we're just making the appeal.
Yeah, it's still in my head. It looks like the rural community is just getting left out of the cold. They should compete. Rural communities should compete with our other rural communities and have a matrix for that comparison. And then rurals and urbans against urbans. I mean, the urban population, the urban sector is the one that's creating a lot of issues because of urbanization and development. That's where the flooding's coming in. So to have the ags that are probably creating less of the issue, because I mean, there's a natural flow more so than not, most of the time anyway, to have them compete against urban situations with the higher population and the more buildings and the density and all that, it just seems like that's all kind of skewed and doesn't quite make sense if the rural community is going to have a fair shake moving forward on all of this. That's my thought on it. I could be totally off, but that's what I figured I'd tell you.
Joe, you are on target. That seems to be the nature of our beast that we live in the state of Texas. It doesn't matter if it's healthcare funds, infrastructure funds, TxDOT funds. You're right on point. The rural areas always are the last in line because I guess at the end of the day, they have the least population and the least votes, I guess. I don't want to say it any other way, but it appears that that's how it works.
True. They have the less advocates. They have the less people up in DC or Austin speaking for them. I mean, they are definitely at a disadvantage.
And so would you want to submit a comment that the ranking should be separated versus rural communities and urban?
Yes. Yeah, I would suggest that. Keep them to two different categories to be fair across the border, across the state. I think that's the best way to handle it.
And so,
does anyone have any objection to submitting that? Hearing none, go ahead and add it on, please, Christina.
do we want to comment specifically on the weights or on, the metrics that they're using, like half suggested doing percentages, or do you just want to leave it as a general comment?
I believe a general comment conveys the message.
Okay. I'll draft up that as a response. And then maybe I pass it to you, Chairman, and then you can route it. All right, can we do that, Megan? Is that against the...
Which part, Christina?
If I were to draft the responses and then send it to all of them for comment.
Christina, just draft the response in a way that conveys the concern that Mr. Hinojosa brought up and include it. Okay, we don't need to do anything else.
Okay, we'll do that. I'll do that.
This is Renestra. I also join Joe in that sentiment. But for the sake of better understanding, can we review again the threshold of where they consider a rural area, and an urban area? What is the threshold to be considered urbanized that we're talking about here?
So the Water Development Board, correct me if I'm wrong, Megan, but I don't remember seeing a definition for rural versus urban.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
It's-
at this point, maybe we are urban in their eyes and we're concerned about it, but so we need to know what that difference is. Well, I'd like to understand it better.
So do you want us to supply a definition for how we want them to define urban
But
versus?
I'd like to know how they're defining it because they're definitely using it. So what is the criteria that they are using it?
No, they're not using rural versus urban. That
Oh.
that was our interpretation is when
Oh, I
you
see.
did it,
Oh.
and you
Okay.
just look at the more the
Mhm.
bigger metro areas.
Renee,
have
I
high
think that
populations.
what happens here is, if you look at what we're looking at on this slide itself, the rural areas do not have the resources to calculate the ranking criteria metrics, okay?
Mhm.
So we have to use a more generalized type of information to submit, which really causes them to rank lower, whether it's the number of people affected, the number of structures, the number of residencies, all of those criteria that we have in rural areas with no definition are just
Mhm.
less. It's kind of like, Combs versus Harlingen, I
Exactly.
mean, it's you can't compete on number of structures,
Right.
you can't compete on population, you can't compete on BSA, BCA, I'm sorry, so it makes it challenging. I think just a general comment would probably be helpful in regards to that, so that, nowadays, for example, and I go back to the other exhibit, to TxDOT, they have, when they put money in pots, now they have a rural category that they use only for rural projects. Maybe the Water Development Board will consider doing something of that nature, moving on into the future if we bring it to their attention. And they can make the definition on that.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So is it rural or are we talking small entities?
I consider rural
Okay.
to some extent small entities, okay? But that definition, Christina, needs to be made by the Water Development Board. That's something outside of our arena.
Commissioner Christina, it is correct that we do not have definitions for rural or urban in the flood planning process. So I just want to confirm that and encourage y'all, in addition to the general comments, we really do encourage this really fruitful discussion, and as well as specific comments on the ranking criteria that you both like and dislike. So all this discussion is really good. We want to hear that.
Okay.
USDA, the used to be Farmers Home Administration. Now I think it's Rural Development. They have definitions for rural versus urban, and it includes smaller cities. I don't know the thresholds, but there is a population threshold where that community is eligible for their funding for home building and housing projects. That may be something to look at that would tie in with what Mr. Estrada wants, where even though you're not rural, you're in a small community, it's still the same setting, basically.
Thank you. I sure feel rural over here.
You and me both.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to move on, if it's okay with the group, to F&P comments. Okay, F&P comments, ranking criterion weights feedback. The comment we made was the current ranking is weighted heavily toward coastal areas. This results in urbanized and rural areas ranking lower. Half recommended the following: consider population affected as a percentage rather than a raw number. Avoid double counting throughout the scoring process, number structures versus residential structures. I don't know if y'all feel, strongly about either. If you want priority given to residential or not. Consider reducing the number of categories considered in the ranking calculation, such as water supply, social vulnerability index, or the O&M costs. Consider removing flood damage reduction scoring categories that appear to double count elements in their calculation. The line item for flood reduction double counts the metric for the number of structures removed and the percent of structures removed from the floodplain. So I think the next one has the percentage. So like this again is.
Can you enlarge it again, please?
Well, this is House recommended. So you can see that they're all mixed. They're not, I can go back. Oh, actually, here's the FMPs. So, FMSs. So for FMPs, we looked at all of this. Well, actually, they don't look at the top part. They look at number of structures with reduced 100-year, number of structures removed from the 100-year. They look at all of this to come up with their 100% score. And so we're looking at number of structures with a reduced 100, number of structures removed from the 100-year, residential structures removed, percent of structure removed, like all of these have a different value given. So in the first case, it's how, it could be flooding 3 feet and now it's flooding 6 inches. That's a benefit, even though it's still flooding. That's the reduced. Removed is where it's not in the structure at all. And then the percent of structures removed from the 100-year calculated by the Water Development Board. I think that's just a straight percentage that they do with those numbers. But that's given another, percentage, like how well it's cleaning up the area. And then you have another, oh no, they're not bumping for residential. So they're looking all, then they look at the cost. Down here we look at.
So what were you recommending that or commenting on in regards to these, right?
Okay, so you also have, we're doing you're doing the actual reduction, and then we're doing the BCA, which kind of takes into a cost. You're doing cost per structure. Well, actually, you're not. But then you have flood reduction, critical damage. It's more like all these doubling of structures, the number reduced, the number removed, the percent. You're doing residential, which is included in number of structures. Like this is a separate a number. And then you look at it again. Those numbers are also in the flood damage reduction. And like the pre-average depth of flooding, I guess that talks to the severity of the project. But it was really just, double counting, and you may not agree, but that was really the comment, is that they're using the same numbers. And then you have like water supply, you have a ranking here on 7, but you also have a water supply benefit up here. There's another one. So between these two, in some cases, there is some double counting that's going on. And then you have multiple benefits, that gets water supply a third time.
Megan, do you know if these issues that Christina's talking about were purposely done that way for a reason by the Water Development Board, or were they just arbitrarily put on there?
I feel sure it wasn't arbitrary, but I also can't speak to the specific development of some of these criteria, but I can follow up and see if I can get a more detailed answer. I just don't want to tell you wrong in the moment.
Thank you.
I believe they have an advisory board that they kicked it around to, Chairman, and then they're putting this out for comments before they actually make it official. So this is your opportunity to move the needle in any direction. This is their best effort to try to make it fair, or as fair, as they're opening up for comments in case you feel strongly about anything. You can make your argument before it's actually approved.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't submit the comment. You brought up like the duplication. And I guess for me, the biggest heartburn is especially the duplication when it's adding water supply to this, because there are other programs to get funding for water supplies. And that gets into a big geographical question. If you're in the lower valley and you're looking at, oh, well, we're going to do this for water supply. You've got flat topography. The only way you're going to get water supply is to dig a hole. So you have broad areas of shallow impoundment, which is the most inefficient way to do a water supply. You have the inherent salinity issues by having impounded water on the soils where you start salting out everything around it. In a lot of cases, it's not a good idea in some geographical settings. If the goal is to prioritize flood protection and flooding problems, I don't think water supply should be a significant consideration. If you happen to be able to do it, great. But to rule out places that could have been funded because of flooding problems, because they're not generating a water supply, I can't agree with that.
Good comment, Ellen. I think that I mean, if one of the benefits ends up being that it helps a water supply, so be it.
Right.
But this is flooding and flood mitigation we're looking at.
I agree. We're on the same page.
Yeah. So Christina, you can, you might somehow, some way in there, make sure that we include that.
So is the comment, just to be clear, is the comment to remove the water supply or just reduce the duplication? Or
mine would be to remove it.
Okay.
I mean, we're not in the water supply business, okay?
My caveat to that is during flood, you end up losing a lot of infrastructure issues that provide water for all the communities in the valley. You have pumps that go down or areas like that impact our ability to provide water for all these communities. I don't want that to be taken off the table, because that does happen.
Well,
you have pumps on the river, you have pumps in canals and all that. They get flooded out, they get shorted out, then you're at a loss to provide water for your rural and for your community.
And that's a good point, Joe, but I don't think that, you would be impacted by the flood, whether you're a farm or a irrigation water supplier or a municipal water supplier, or you as yourself as an entity are, if it's directly related to a flood condition, it's in there.
Those should have been considered critical facilities.
Yeah.
So they get a priority for funding based on being a critical facility.
If we go to that, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be there.
Yeah, no. Critical facilities, are those things that have been identified as necessary for public that we identified further back.
Okay, so the comment to the Water Development Board would be to remove all criteria related to water supply. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, and you know, all of those facilities have been listed in critical facilities,
Mhm.
okay?
Yes, sir. Any water, critical water and wastewater facilities.
Right.
Okay, so I've noted that. Does that need to get approval or do I just move on?
No, I think that, you know, just note it and move on, okay?
Okay, so the next one, yeah, because we're coming up on time. So these were the halves ranks, but I'm gonna move on to FMSs. Ranking criteria and weights feedback. Scoring appears to skew towards existing flood risk versus flood risk reduction. So half recommended the following: consider population affected as a percentage rather than the raw number of people, and avoid double counting throughout the score process. Again, this is just the number of structures versus residential. And these were our, no, actually, yeah, these were the comments that we supplied on the weighting. So ours weren't at the very top, but they were in general, they ranked pretty good, the FMSs. I don't know if y'all want to review this in more detail or have any comments.
Are you submitting any comments on this particular section, Christina?
Those were it, that they,
That's it?
Yes, those were it.
Okay.
And we did have comments on the scoring.
Okay. Any
But
questions, any questions I think would be at this time, you know, we'll entertain if anyone has any questions on those particular ranking criteria and weight feedbacks. Okay, then you can go ahead and proceed.
Okay, so then the next meeting, wanted to just go through. We have a lot of work to do to wrap it up. So the regional flood plan has to be, or the amended regional flood plan has to be submitted by July 14. And we do need to post it for comment at least a week in advance. I'd like to give it at least a couple of weeks before we approve it. So I'm hoping that we could have another meeting in May. May, I know, is going to be really busy, but another meeting to approve the FMXs, any additional FMEs that we get in, and the FMPs that we're studying, so that we can add that to the amended plan. And then have a meeting in early June or mid-June to early June, post the amended regional flood plan. And then if we could meet 2 weeks later, so if there's a comment period to review the comments, and then make a plan to approve the plan with comments addressed, and that'll give us, you know, 3 or so weeks to actually make the plan accessible, and we can submit it by July 14. So,
Christina, may I ask this question?
Monday.
Would May 17th be too early for you to have what you need done for us?
May 17 is not too early.
Okay, if it's not too early,
but
I will
believe, oh, so the week of, wait, no, May 17. I believe I'm going to be unavailable, but I could have somebody else. I have training that day and the 18th. So if you want to meet on the 19th or the 16th, I can, which would be Tuesday or Friday.
Okay, the 19th, the group that's on right now, is there any problem with the 19th of May?
No, sir.
Okay, then, because I need to pencil in stuff and, you know, give Jaime the ability to post and all, because we've got to, you know, otherwise the month will be gone.
Mhm.
So May 19th, we started today at 9 a.m., right?
Yeah.
At 9 a.m. That should probably be a shorter meeting than today's, because we'll have
Yes.
more of the information available to us. The one thing that I would suggest, Christina, is that please try to give Jaime this information so that when he posts the meeting, even if you put draft across the page or something,
Mhm.
if you need to, please try to provide it to him so that we can be able to review it before and help you or help the person giving us the information. You know, we've already looked at it. If we have questions, we can ask them right away, and we have to go through the process a little quicker.
Will do. Yeah.
So May 19th, 9 a.m.
9 a.m. That's a Friday.
That's a Friday.
That's a Friday. 9 a.m. And then June. I guess we can plan on June, but
Just give us some dates between you and Jaime and keep me in the loop for June.
Okay.
And we'll announce the meeting on May 19th as to when June will be, okay?
okay, we'll do. Sounds good. And so that's
Anything
all I
else?
have. No,
Okay,
that's all I have.
any questions or comments or thoughts before we move to the next item? Thanks everyone for their participation and their commentary in regards to this. As we all know, this criteria at the end of the day will become critically important for all the projects that are being submitted. So thank you all for taking the time to give some comments and feedback, you know. There's no action to be taken at this time on item number 8. Item number 9 is public comment that anyone on the line would wish to make.
This is Joe. Lest I forget, I do want to reach out to Ria and thank him for all the service he's provided for this region, for this body itself, but particularly for this region and Laredo for his leadership. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with him this many years. Thank you very much, Ria, and I wish the best for you moving forward, sir.
Any other comments? And Ria, if there's anyone in Laredo that we need to bring into the loop, especially, and make sure that we keep Webb County and the city of Laredo looped into what we're doing, please send me an email and let me know, you know, because I would love to see if we make sure that they feel included and inclusive of what we're doing. Is he on? Yeah. Any other comments? I guess there's no public comment because Joe just said it. We did already the date and agenda item for the next meeting, so that's taken care of. So the only other item I have is a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion. I'm ready to call it a day on this one.
Sonia, you second it? You know, okay, all those in favor say aye. Thank you to everyone
Aye.
today in the call.
Have a
Have a
good
great
day.
weekend. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Oh,